Hi there, I'm Dr. Ahmad from Juvida Clinics. In this short talk, I'll be discussing implanting. So when we think of hair transplants, we think of it in three main parts. So we've got harvesting, which is where we're taking the grafts from the donor area. We've got site making, which is where we create incisions into the scalp, wherever we need the grafts to be. So normally either the front or the mid scalp or the crown. And then lastly, we have implanting, okay? So it's the doctor that very much does the vast majority of the harvesting, punching the grafts, taking the grafts out. The site making is all done by the doctor, which is making the incisions. Implanting at the very end, generally speaking, is done by the technicians. So these are the assistants on the day, and typically you'll have one hair technician on one side of you and one on the other side of you implanting the grafts. Is implanting important? Yeah, every single stage of a hair transplant is important when it comes to the overall success of the procedure in order to get the best end result. So when it comes to implanting, there are a few sort of variables and things that are important. So the first thing is, well, when you're implanting the grafts, we want to have made sure that the grafts have been well looked after up until that point. So taking care when extracting the grafts from the donor area, storing the grafts appropriately, and also making sure that there's not too much time between extracting the grafts in the first place and then implanting them. So the shorter the time period, the better it is. So we don't want the graft out of the head for too long. When it comes to implanting, the technicians are always or have to be very, very cautious when handling the grafts. When they're handling the grafts, they should never be sort of grasping them recklessly. They need to make sure that they never hold the graft from the bottom, the bulb where the follicle is. So the graft should always be sort of held and managed accordingly. So not holding on too tight, never grasping it from the very bottom. So that's one key thing in terms of looking after the grafts. And when it comes to implanting them, essentially they use what we call implanting forceps. People have different techniques, but essentially the idea is that they're going to take that graft and carefully slide that graft into the incision that the doctor has created. So it has to be done with care. You don't want it forced in or pushed in. It's guided in. It's sort of just eased into the incision and slowly sort of slid down into that incision. A few little other bits and bobs is that you don't ever want to put one graft on top of the other one, what we call piggybacking. So the technicians always have magnification, they have glasses on, they have good lighting to make sure that every site has a graft in, that no sites are left empty, that they don't put one graft on top of another. And also in terms of when they are putting grafts in, that they do so not only carefully but also to the correct depth. So the doctor will have made the incisions hopefully to the correct depth, but also it's down to the technicians to make sure that they place the grafts, they don't push it all the way down, and sort of the graft should be just maybe a millimetre or so above the skin. So, and that's pretty much implanting. They have to be careful that they don't damage the grafts, so that's handling the graft very gently, not crushing them, not holding them at the bottom, and then gently guiding them into the incision, and making sure that every site is filled, that they're not putting one on top of the other, and that they're getting the depth correctly. It's not getting forced down too low, but also not hanging up too much. And that is implanting.